also Ann Conlon, who's behind the scenes moving the slides. And it's, yeah, so I see there's like one person who's still trying to connect to audio. So trying not to get into too much content yet. Thanks for joining us this evening. We really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us. So if you want to go to the next slide, and you can see nice photos of myself and Sheila. And I'm going to talk about SoPA and a little bit about our programs and student supports. And then I'm going to hand things over to Sheila, who's going to talk about our admissions process and important things like tuition and financial aid. So you should feel free at any point to put questions into the chat box at the bottom of the screen. But initially, I'm just wondering if you would put your name and where you're calling in from, and if you know which program you're interested in. It's always good to get a sense of who's here. And for those who are in the Gulf Coast region, it's an evening of sort of odd weather for a change, right? So hopefully those of you who are in this region are, well, probably if you're concerned about it, you might not be on this. So, but we're all sitting safe and cozy at home. So again, if you could put your name, where you're calling in from, and the program you're interested in, that'll give us a sense of who's here. So the School of Professional Advancement is the 2022 iteration of a long-standing school at Tulane that was actually founded pretty soon after the Medical College of Louisiana, which was the first school at Tulane, founded in 1834. So Tulane has a long commitment to applied learning that's relevant to the workplace and to supporting working adults and supporting people who are looking to advance in their careers. So SoPA, as we call it, is just the most current iteration of that long time commitment. So SoPA is a school at Tulane where you can get a Tulane quality education that is worthy of the name and carries the brand, but is also for people who may have lots of other things going on in their lives and may be trying to balance school and possibly work and family. And that's what we do really well. So in this webinar, I'll talk first about online education and how we do it, because that's where most of our graduate education happens. I'll touch on our programs and faculty, not in a lot of detail because we have program-specific webinars with faculty from each of our program areas. Talk a little bit about student support, and then Sheila will talk about affordability and flexibility, as we say. And of course, all of this, like I said, is backed up by the Tulane name. So great, nice to meet you, Thomas, Juan, and Madison. So like I said, actually, I think this is one of the interesting things about living in the Gulf Coast region is that, and one of the great things about being at Tulane is that you figure out how to navigate daily life and the challenges of daily life along with weather. And so even before the pandemic, we were really good at figuring out how to operate remotely and keep teaching and keep students engaged. And so it was actually really good preparation, as I've learned, like doing a hurricane plan, an evacuation plan is really good preparation for a pandemic. And so even before the pandemic, SoPA had an exceptionally strong approach to teaching online and figuring out how to mix what's called asynchronous learning, where you're doing it on your own time, and synchronous, which is what we're doing right now. So typically meetings through Zoom with guest lecturers or speakers or group projects or presentations, things like that. And actually, you might be interested to know that typically our graduate classes meet online once a month. So 4 times during the semester, sometimes they meet more, and they'll record the meetings for anyone who ends up not being able to attend. But it's a really great mix of all the assets of online learning in a way that accommodates people's schedules and obligations, but is also highly engaging and high quality. So these are all the things that we try to do in online learning at SoPA, and we actually do them pretty well. And one among the ways that we know that we do this well is in the next slide, just to give you a sense of the metrics. Numbers of students, numbers of hours of online instruction, numbers of programs, and numbers of faculty trained with, among other things, award-winning programs that, you know, one of the ways that you try to gauge the quality of the education is when others recognize it. So that's what we offer at SoPA in terms of online. In the next slide, this is just a quick glimpse at 4 of our faculty members. We have a combination of full-time faculty in the school, most of whom come from industry. Tyra Mitchell and Ralph Russo are good examples of that. Tyra, who by profession is a physical therapist, is associate director of our kinesiology programs. That's where sports studies and health and wellness live. And Ralph Russo, who is the faculty member who directs information technology and cybersecurity, has a long background in law enforcement as well as working as an entrepreneur. So those are 2 of our full-time faculty. And we have about 35 full-time faculty and then about 200 adjunct faculty. Ashley Hand and Derek Bose are great examples of our adjunct faculty. So these are people who are currently working in industry. So they're bringing their real life knowledge and their professional networks to classes and using them to benefit students. But their primary focus is on their day jobs, and they teach because they love to share what they learn, and they love to interact with our really interesting students and to have that classroom experience. So those are just some examples of our faculty. The next slide has just a list of our master's degrees, the current list of master's degrees, which is actually always growing. So we have Master of Science programs, we have Master of Public Administration, a Master of Liberal Arts, which is a humanities focused program, and then the Master of Professional Studies, which is the degree that we offer in emergency and security studies, homeland security, security management, and emergency management. On the next slide, we have a very long list of our graduate certificates. So one of the important things to know about our certificate programs is that they are stackable into the master's degrees, and the admissions process and the admissions standards for the certificate programs and for the master's degrees are identical. And so if you get admitted to a certificate program because that's what you feel like you can manage at the time, or because you have a really particular interest in, you know, I don't know, sports security, for example, you can always decide later that you want to do the full master's degree, and all of the courses you've taken will count toward the master's degree. The one exception is cyber technology fundamentals. All of our other certificates are 4 courses. Cyber Tech Fundamentals is a 6-course program that is graduate level coursework in the fundamentals of information technology for people who want to do the work or want to manage the work and don't have a significant background in working in IT or studying IT or computer science, as an example. So that's our certificate programs. And then we also have what we call post-baccalaureate certificates. So these are certificate programs where you must have a bachelor's degree in order to be admitted and enroll. And they're made up of courses where the certification is relevant and important in the field. Studying at the graduate level may not be as important. So examples include for teacher licensure, in the graphic design field, and in paralegal studies, in our American Bar Association approved paralegal studies program. So those are our post-baccalaureate certificates. And again, you can get a lot more detail about individual program areas in our program-specific webinars. And then I'll just talk for a minute more about a couple areas. First is what we call credit for prior learning, which means that we have a number of ways in which you can earn credit toward your master's degree by, for example, working with our faculty to document your experience and match it up to the learning objectives of individual courses, so that if you come, for example, just to continue the sports security example, if you have been working in, I don't know, a place like the New Orleans Superdome, and you have an extensive background in managing large events and security staff and safety and all of those things, you could work with our faculty to document your experience in a portfolio that is then graded by faculty, and you can get up to 2 courses or 6 credits toward the master's degree. We have various other arrangements as well, where people get advanced standing toward the master's degree, but the portfolio is one example. And it's just one more way in which we are a school that's adult student friendly. And then finally, I'll just talk about what we call student support and success for a moment. And that basically means, like I said at the very beginning, the school is all about offering a rigorous, high quality education, often to students who are managing other commitments along with going to school. Sometimes our students are taking 3 or 4 courses at a time. Sometimes they're even taking 3 courses and working full time, but other times they're taking 2 courses at a time and, you know, completing the master's degree in 2 years. And things come up that happens. Like I said at the beginning, in Louisiana, South Louisiana right now, we're dealing with some weird weather. Weather happens, work happens, life happens. We have students who are in the military and deployed around the world. We have students who are first responders and you know, have crazy hours after there's been a natural disaster. And we will do everything we possibly can to work with you to navigate those challenges and to keep you in school and on track toward your certificate or degree. And that's the commitment we make. And we do it through our faculty. We also do it through academic advisement. Each student is assigned a highly experienced academic advisor who can figure out how to help you make decisions about what courses to take when, how many, what to do if a challenge comes up. We also have a dedicated career advisor at the school who is highly experienced in working with adult students who in many cases are trying to figure out how to turn their prior experience in the military or in the service industry or whatever it might be into a new career, and all the translatable and transmissible skills that come from their backgrounds and how to talk about that. And then, of course, along with that, you become a permanent member of the Tulane University community with all the rights and privileges that that accords to you. And that includes, lifelong career networks and support. And with that, I'll hand things over to Sheila to continue.
Thank you, Suri. And let me just reiterate, welcome everybody. Thank you. We always appreciate when folks take time at the end of what I assume has been a busy day to hear about our programs. We enjoy talking about them, and we hope that you all can sort of feel that as we go through the program. So a little bit about the affordability of our school and how students help fund their education. So our tuition rate at SoPA is done per credit hour. It's $1,119 per credit hour, and each one of our courses is 3 credits. What I like to share with students is that we have very low fees, very few fees that we add on top of that tuition rate. That's really important to sort of point out and keep in mind as you're evaluating different programs and comparing how much you're going to end up paying each semester. Keep fees in mind. We're very intentional about having our tuition be the vast majority of what students pay each semester. Even with that said, we know that going back to school is a commitment and that it is an investment. And so many of our students will apply for financial aid. In order to do that, you need to fill out the FAFSA form. That's the federal form that's used virtually at every school for financial aid. It is a little bit of a process. If you've never filled out those forms before, it has several pieces that need to be submitted. So I always encourage students to start the FAFSA process as you're applying, not after you get in, because it can delay you finding out about your award a little bit. We do offer federal grants and loans. We are very proudly a yellow ribbon school. We're very veteran and active, military friendly and focused. And then we also have several 20% tuition discounts for active duty military and veterans, public safety personnel. If anyone on this webinar is an alum of a minority serving institution, an HBCU, for instance, we offer a 20% tuition discount. And also if anyone is a Phi Theta Kappa Honor Society member, we also offer a discount. I also like to share the slide right before this, or maybe 2 before this, that Suri mentioned about credit for prior learning. That is another way that students can not only save money, because you can get up to 2 classes, 6 hours, that you don't have to pay tuition, but also it speeds up your time towards graduation. So it's a savings of time and money. Next, so our application process, we try to make straightforward. There are always questions along the way. That's great. We love to hear questions. We'll give you our contact information at the end of this webinar, but feel free to reach out at any time. We philosophically believe that getting to know students through the application process is the beginning of our relationship building. And we do think a differentiator between our school and other schools is that students get to know the faculty, the staff, other students, and make relationships that help them throughout their educational journey and also help in the workforce. So our application is a online application. It lives on our website, sopa.tulane.edu. That address is at the bottom of the screen. There's a big button at the top of the page that says apply. Simply click that. It opens you up into our application portal. We require a few things for the application. The first one is that we do have a $50 application fee. However, we will waive that fee for attendees of this webinar. If you have already applied and paid that fee, please email me and I can return that fee. So don't be shy about that. It takes 30 seconds for me to waive the fee, and it's our pleasure to offer that to you for attending the webinar. Other things you'll have to include is a current government ID. That can be as simple as taking a picture of your driver's license or a passport if you prefer, and just uploading it to the application. We'll need transcripts from any school from which you've received college credit, undergraduate and graduate. We also like to let students know we do not require the GRE for any of our graduate programs. We do not believe that it's a very good indicator of success in our programs. So generally that is good news to those who are sitting on this webinar. And for many of our programs, we will also ask you to provide a written statement and possibly your resume. So if you have any questions along the way about the application process, once again, please reach out. It's our pleasure to get to know you and help you through the process. We have 3 starts when students can start our programs. We have the traditional fall start, a spring start, which is generally in January, and then a summer start. We are currently reviewing applications for our summer term. That application deadline is May 1. For fall, if you're planning to start in the fall, August 1 is our application deadline. And if you're thinking all the way ahead to spring, January 1 is our deadline. I would like to bring your attention, we have an early enrollment scholarship. This is just for the first semester, but it is a little bit helpful to students since we're always looking to save a little bit of money. If you apply and register for classes by the early enrollment dates, then you'll get a $500 scholarship towards your first semester. We simply deduct $500 from your first tuition bill. So for those of you who are interested in summer term, which is coming up, if you register for classes by April 25th, which is right around the corner, you will receive that scholarship. For fall, if you register by June 1, you'll receive the scholarship. And of course, for January, it's December 1. So I encourage you to take advantage of that. You only have to register for classes by those dates, and you'll simply get that $500 deducted from your total on your first bill. So it's an easy way to save a little bit of money, and we hope that that helps. All right, so my contact information is on the screen right in front of you. I always tell students to email me. I'm not necessarily reliably sitting next to my desk phone, but I always have my email open. So that's the best way to get in touch with me. And this is a good time if you have any questions to drop them into the chat, and we're happy to answer.
Great. Well, you'll get an email from Sheila tomorrow that has a link to a recording of the webinar. And like she said, it's hopefully it's very clear that we're available, and happy to check in with you, happy to make connections with our faculty if you have questions for them. I hope you'll take advantage of the opportunity to attend one of our program-specific webinars, or even to drop into a class online, which is something else we offer. And we look forward to getting to know you. And Thomas's question about certificate programs, you can go ahead and send your questions to Sheila, and we'll make sure that they get answered. Thanks again for your time, and we look forward to being in touch. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a good evening.